So today what we're going to do is we're going to build another control panel. This time it's for the little 4x7 layout that I've been building on the channel. And I've gone ahead and I've taken the track plan, I've simplified it, color coded it, and then I threw it into a program called Pages, which is a Mac program. It's the equivalent of MS Paint, really. And I've gone ahead and added my logo and some of the indicators, so when I do build this panel out, I know exactly what switch is going to be for what. So I went ahead and I actually had 4 copies of this printed. So I can go ahead and choose the nicest of the 4, which is this one, I think. And I've already gone ahead and done a few other things as well. So this is all based on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, so US standard. So I've gone ahead and cut a piece of Lexan. This stuff's actually pretty flexible. I got this at Lowe's, believe it or not, and it wasn't really too terribly expensive. And then I've gone ahead and actually done quite a bit of work on the back here. So I've made myself a metal plate to mount my my connector plugs here. So I've got a 15 and a 9. So I went ahead and cut this out and then cut the hole in the middle so I could stick these inside of it. The idea being is these connectors work really well, but they don't like going through thick material like this wood. So I went ahead and made a thinner material. Now this just happens to be birch on the one side and oak on the other, but since this is going inside the panel, it doesn't really matter. Nobody's going to see it anyway. And then you'll also notice that I've actually grouped all of these wires into pairs. And then on my cell phone, which is sitting next to me, I actually have the key for this, so I know exactly what these wires are going to. So, getting started. So I'm going to go ahead and start by grabbing my drill. I'm going to get this assembled with some screws. So this is a new drill I'm trying for today. It's another Ridgid product. It's a little 12-volt drill this go around though. So they call it a palm driver, I believe. But the idea being is you just push and it drives in the screw or pulls the screw out versus having to press a trigger. So it's really good for tight spaces and such. So I figured I'd give it a go on this. So again, this control panel is pretty small, only 8.5 by 11 inches. And a great example actually of what you can do for sub panels in a larger layout. So for example, you have some kind of manufacturing plant or something, and you want to do some switching in and out. So rather than having the switches be on individual panels, you can group just that area. So this can be the paper mill or whatever it might be. All right, so I've got my box assembled here. I'm gonna go ahead and take this here and we're gonna secure this to the back side. Now I have centered those holes on the bolt pattern for this thing, so it doesn't really matter which side I put it on. So in this case, I'm just using some little 3/4 inch Phillips screws for the back side. Okay, so that takes care of the back. Now, because I know I've got these little plugs on the back here, I was going to stick a couple pieces of plywood on there and then flip it over so it still sits flat and you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so inside of the box, pretty clean and empty. So at the moment, there's not a whole lot going on in there, but that's going to change here pretty quick. I've got this big controller wire set here, which I need to actually secure with some hot glue. Okay, so now we've got everything hot glued in place. It's much stronger than it was before. The metal plate's actually flexing now. So it's not going to go anywhere. So next up is we're actually going to put in some screw terminals. Okay, so what I'm trying to figure out here is layout. So I know with this track plan, and with this panel anyway, that I'm going to have on-off switches here, I'm going to have a switch over here, and then I'm going to have a bunch of switches down here. So I want to make sure that everything in the panel is in a spot to make wiring those areas easier. So I got everything well secured. So now I got to go ahead and take these wires and get these connected to these leads here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start here. I know those guys go there. I'm going to clip those off. And then I'm going to use some strippers. I'll go ahead and twist these a little bit. And then just to make my life easy, I'm just going to dip them in the tinning flux, which is Oatly number 95. And then I'm going to go ahead and take these little guys and stick them on there and then solder them in. Okay, now that my soldering iron is hot, I'm going to go ahead and put some solder on the iron itself. Hold the wire. All right, so that one's in place. Okay, so you can quickly see how this is already starting to get organized. So what I'm doing at the moment, so obviously I'm going from the plug to the screw terminals, and then from the screw terminals I'm going to go to the face of the control panel. And this does two things. One is that obviously it creates a nice controlled spot to terminate these, but it also makes maintenance easier. So if you have a control panel, a switch goes bad, something like that, you can simply unscrew it versus having to mess with solder and all kinds of other stuff again. So again, a lot of this is just to make maintenance easier as time goes on. And me personally, it looks better, it's easier to work with, it's easier to understand, and most importantly for me, it's easier to explain to clients as to how it works. So now I've got this 9 plug, which is actually 8 wires. So some of these are going to get combined in the box here. I'm not quite sure which ones yet though, so I'm going to have to consult my my phone here. So I don't know if you can see this or not, but combo is the different sets of wires that turn on and off. So I know that when I consult my other drawing that actually has all this written down, I know exactly what goes to what. So the 15 plug, which is the one I just did, those go to red and black, which means those are all of my switch pairs. Whereas the 9 bundle, which is what I'm going to be working on now, that is actually blue and white, which is my track. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my other drawing so I know what I'm looking at, and we'll get right back to it. This is what I have laid out so I know what colors go to what pair. So green and black over here, for example, I know that this pair right here goes to this switch. So that's going to be all the way over here on the control panel. And then I know, for example, red and purple is going to be this pair of switches down here, this crossover. I might end up moving these around a little bit so they're actually closer to the device that they're going to be controlling. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to bend these up just a little bit. Okay, so what that does is that keeps everything nice and clear of itself, so we don't have to worry about anything interacting with anything else. It's all just going to lay in nice and flat. And I'll put a zip tie on this just so everything stays connected and organized. Okay guys, this seems like a good place to break up this video. In the next one, you'll see me put together the face along with all of the switches, tie it all together, and then you'll see it on the layout. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help a great deal. And keep an eye out because all of these different colored sheets are all different projects that are coming up on this channel. So keep an eye out and don't forget to subscribe.